Now we have placed the letters of these words together. That is, if they are horizontally getting displayed, we have made sure that letters are not displayed in the next line, and if they are vertically displayed, we have made sure that after this the letters are not getting displayed in these rows, right? So we have written the code to place these letters together. Next, what is the issue we need to solve? The issue is that some letters are getting replaced by letters of some other words. So here the word cat is not getting displayed completely because the letter T got replaced with letter O of the word cow. Again, in case of peacock, the letter A of the word peacock got replaced with the letter D of the word duck. Again here, the letter O of the word peacock got replaced with the letter A of got. So similarly, in so many div elements, letters are getting replaced. So what we need to do to make sure that letters are not getting replaced? Before placing the letters, we should ensure that that particular div element is not already occupied. In this case, we first placed cat, so C, A and T. Then before placing the word cow, we need to make sure that from the starting position, 3 spaces, that is 3 div elements, are not already occupied. If any of these div elements are already occupied, we cannot place that word from that particular starting position. Okay. So to check whether a div element is already occupied or not, what we can do is that while adding these letters, we can have another data attribute. So here when we set the HTML value, let me copy this, paste it here, and let me add an attribute as data word, and I'm setting its value as this particular word, that is my words of I. So let me put a comma and write my words of I. So what does that mean? For all the letters, suppose the word is cow, for all the div elements that are having C, O and W, the data word attributes value will be the same, which is cow. Let me show you that. Let me save this. Let me refresh. Okay. Now the words are getting displayed, and here if I expand container and grid, okay, see, for these div elements, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, for all these 7 div elements, we could see that the data word is added as peacock. So we could check whether there is a data word attribute. If there is a value for the data word attribute, it means that that particular div element is already occupied. Now in case of cow, we could see that for this div element, the data word attribute is set as cow. Then the letter O is displayed in the next row, right? Here we could see that for the letter O, that is for this particular div element as well, we are seeing data word attribute. So for all these occupied div elements, there will be a data word attribute, as we have set the attribute value like my words of I. For all those letters, the data word attribute value will be the same, that is that particular word. Next, what we need to do, before placing the letters in this starting position, that is in the new start we have created here, before that we need to make sure that that particular div element, that is all the div elements of a particular word, is not already occupied. So let me write a function where empty equals, let me specify check empty, and I'm going to pass 3 values to this function. First, we need to have the letter count, because suppose the starting value we got is this one. Okay, another word, suppose the starting value is this one, and say the word is peacock. So what we need to make sure, from this position, the number of letters, that is peacock has 7 characters in that. So all the 7 spaces should not be occupied. So we have to run a loop 7 times to check whether any of those div elements are already occupied. So before placing this word, we have to get the starting position, orientation, and also the number of letters in that particular word. then only we could check if it is horizontally, if it is to be displayed horizontally, then we have to check the consecutive div elements. If it is to be displayed vertically, we need to check the div elements at a gap of 12, and we need to check it for all the 7 div elements. That is why I am going to pass the letter count, which is having the number of letters, and also the new start position, and also the randomly generated orientation to this function. Okay, so here let us pass letter count. Then what else we need? We need to have the new start position, right? Then only from there we could check the availability or whether the div elements are already occupied. And also I need to have the orientation. So we are going to write a function named checkEmpty, and we will return a variable named empty or occupied. So this is letter count for running the loop, starting position to start from there, and orientation to decide whether to check consecutive div elements or elements at a gap of 12. Okay. Next, let us write this checkEmpty function. So here let me write function checkEmpty. That is the name we have added. Then here let me specify count, start, and orientation. Okay. Then what we need to do, as we have done while placing the letters, we need to start from the starting value we are passing here, and inside a loop we need to check for all the div elements. So here first let me specify if orientation equals horizontal, then which all elements we need to check. Let me specify where increment by equal to 0, and in this case increment by is 1, because horizontal means consecutive div elements should be checked. Else if orientation equals vertical, in that case what will be the value of increment by? It will be 12. Okay. Then I am going to run a loop. So for where m equal to 0, m less than count. So how many times this should be checked? We need to check for the number of characters, right? That is, if the word is peacock, which we want to place from here, that is start from here, we need to check 7 div elements. If it is horizontally displayed, say the word to be placed is peacock starting from here, we need to check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So how many times we are going to run the loop? We are going to run the loop as many times the number of characters in that particular word. So here I am specifying m less than count, m plus plus. So what we need to check? We need to start from this position, right? So here let me have another variable n equal to start. Okay. And here what we are going to do is that, let me collect all the div elements. So dot letter, then which is having index as n. So plus n plus dot data of word. That is, we are checking whether this div element is having the data word attribute. If it is equal to undefined, what does that mean? It is an empty element. That is, no data word means that no letter is added in that particular div element. So in that case, let us specify status equal to empty. Okay. So let us have another variable status as an empty string. We are going to return this value. In the else part, so here we need to check like if. So if this is undefined, that is $letter will select all the div elements, and eq n means n will be the starting value. So this is the starting position we are checking. Dot data of word equals undefined means we can return status as empty. In the else part, what does that mean? It is already occupied. So we can specify status equal to occupied, and also we need to exit this loop. So I am specifying break. So we need to have it within curly braces because we are having more than one statement. So let me cut this from here, paste it here and specify break. Otherwise what will happen if in between a space is occupied and if we do not write this, it will continue the loop. So for example, in this case, say we are starting from here, okay, P or here, PEA. So this is occupied and if we are not exiting the loop, it will again continue. So at the end, this may be the div element. That is, if we start from here, PEACOCK. So this space is not occupied means it will return empty. So that should not happen. In between, if any of the div elements are occupied, we should exit the loop. So that is why I have specified break here. Then this is for the starting only. Next, what we need to do, we need to increment the value n plus equals increment by, because we are assigning the value increment by 1 for horizontal and 12 for vertical. So we are starting from the starting position and we need to check for all the next div elements, that is equal to the number of letters in that particular word. So what will happen here if the word is peacock and the starting position is 1 and the orientation is horizontal? The value of m will be 0 and it will run the loop for the number of characters, that is 7 times. This will be checked, right? And the value of n is set as start and we are fetching the div elements which is having this index, that is the starting div element. And if it is empty, it will return the status as empty, and if it is not empty, it will specify the status as occupied and we are exiting the loop. And this n should be incremented, then only we will be able to check all the div elements, right? Then after this, that is after the loop, what we need to do, we need to return the status value. So return status. So this will be either empty or occupied. If it is occupied, which means that any of one or more div elements are already occupied. How we are checking whether it is occupied or not? We are specifying data word attribute while placing the letters, that is here we have set data word attribute. So if it is undefined means it is not occupied. So in that case we are specifying status as empty and here status as occupied.